Eyes Wide Shut was Stanley Kubrick's final film from 1999. He passed away sometime right before the release of it, and I would call this one of Stanley Kubrick's weaker films. Now, with Eyes Wide Shut, from 1956 when he did The Killing to 1987 when he did Full Metal Jacket, those films and everything in between, easy 4-star classics, easily. But with Eyes Wide Shut, it doesn't quite reach that caliber. I don't want to really tear it down, but I just want to say, just for the note, that it's not really, it doesn't achieve the status of excellence that Kubrick's films before did. But it is good. It is good. Now, sometimes, I've seen the movie about 3 times roughly, and sometimes I alternate between the movie being really, really good and just really good. It's got Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, who were married at the time, and yeah, this is a hypnotic erotica, and this is not as good of an erotic film as Last Tango in Paris, which I think is the very best erotic film. But Stanley Kubrick is really able to give such a genius filming in this. And Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise, he has such a bad rap. I mean, he's a very talented actor. He's just done so many of the same old action films where he doesn't really have much of a range or originality as a character. But in Eyes Wide Shut, you really see his talent in this. It takes place in New York City, and he's married to Nicole Kidman, like in the movie also. He plays this well-respected young physician named Bill, and he's married to Alice, and they live a lot of luxury. They go to fancy parties, and he makes a killing, and yeah, they're having a good time. But one night, him and Alice, they're fooling around with each other. They get a little bit high. She's spoiling for a fight. She goes into great detail about a sexual fantasy that she had that wasn't with Bill. And of course, he's devastated by it. And that night, he's called out to a medical emergency. And afterwards, like the night before, he hears about an old medical school friend of his, who's now a piano player, and he's going to attend this masquerade party. Bill decides to go to that because he can't get images of his wife's fantasy out of his head, because he would never ever do anything like that to himself. So, yeah, he goes, and yeah, it turns out to be this masquerading orgy. It's the most sexual scene in the film, but it's heavily hypnotic, like the majority of the film is. Stanley Kubrick is able to get such a great lighting and camera movement. It doesn't really have a whole lot of fast tracking or heavy editing, like chop editing, but it does have really smooth fluidity in the camera movements, and the lighting is also pretty impressive. When he goes to the masquerade orgy, it's quite something. Not because it's people having sex and a bunch of naked people. It's just it's Stanley Kubrick. Like, it's just amazing what he does. So yeah, after that night, beforehand I always thought that the movie kind of became a little bit forgettable after that scene, but yeah, after my most recent watch, I've got a better grasp on the film. Yeah, the movie it's all about patience and the love between people and forgiveness. And yeah, this movie it sometimes can be a little bit too ambiguous for some. Ambiguity is good, but not too much of it. Yeah, this this is quite a profound piece of work that Stanley Kubrick has done, and I loved it. I loved really what just about everything that Stanley Kubrick did with this. I'm not going to give it my highest score just because it didn't hit me as hard as some of his other things. You know, this is still a mighty fine piece of work. I do love this to bits. And yeah, when I say that this is not one of Kubrick's best, it's because everything that he did, all 4-star films, but Eyes Wide Shut from 1999 gets my second highest grade, which is 3.5 stars out of 4.